بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ما بعد. حي الله المشايخ والأحباب والأخوة والأخوات في الإسلام، حياكم الله جميعا وبياكم وبارك الله فيكم، وأتشرف بحضوركم في الدرس الذي سنتحدث فيه عن الحديث 22 the 22nd hadith in the Al-Arba'een An-Nawawiyyah of Imam Nawawi alayhi rahmatullah, عن أبي عبد الله جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري رضي الله عنه أن رجلا سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فقال: أرأيت إذا صليت المكتوبات وصمت رمضان وأحللت الحلال وحرمت الحرام ولم أزد على ذلك شيئا أدخل الجنة؟ قال: نعم. رواه مسلم. ومعنى حرمت الحرام اجتنبته، ومعنى أحللت الحلال فعلته معتقدا حله. الله أكبر. On the authority of Abi Abdullah Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, may Allah be pleased with him, that a man asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he said, do you see if I observe the obligatory prayers, salawat al-maktubat, the obligatory prayers, and I fast the month of Ramadan, and I maintain or I do what is halal, and I observe and refrain from what is haram, and I did not add or increase anything beyond that, will I enter Jannah? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Naam. He said yes. Let's go to the Sharh of the Shaykh, Shaykh bin Uthaymeen alayhi rahmatullah. يقول جابر رضي الله عنه إن رجلا سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، وهذا الرجل لا نحتاج لمعرفة عينه أو لمعرفة عينه عفوا. Jabir ibn Abdullah said that a man asked the Prophet ﷺ. Now this particular man, we don't need to know specifically who he is. We don't need to know specifically who he is. There you are. لأن المقصود القضية التي وقعت. لأن المقصود القضية التي وقعت. What is intended here is the event and the that occurred. Is the event that occurred. That's what we're concerned about. ولا نحتاج إلى التعب في البحث. And we don't need to exert ourselves in researching. We don't need to put any effort into investigating who is it that asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. اللهم إلا أن يكون تعيينه مما يختلف به الحكم فلا بد من التعيين. Unless it is a situation where in identifying who the questioner is, it will affect the ruling, in which case we have to identify the questioner. If this is not the case, it doesn't matter. رجلا نكرة, a man asked the Prophet ﷺ, who is this man? What's his name? What's his lineage? What's his tribe? What's his background? What's his skin color? What's his nationality, ethnicity? Doesn't matter. Because none of this affects the ruling or the perception of the hadith. None of it affects the objective and the intent behind the ruling and the lesson that we learn from this particular hadith. وقوله أرأيت بمعنى أخبرني. أرأيت means tell me. Do you see meaning tell me. إذا صليت المكتوبات وهن 5 صلوات في اليوم والليلة كما قال عز وجل إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا. So if I pray the obligatory prayers, and that means we are referring to the 5 salawat, the 5 prayers during the day and the night. It is, as Allah says in the Quran, verily the salah was prescribed upon the believers in a particular time. Kitaba mawquta, meaning at a very particular specific time. وغير الخمس لا يجب إلا لسبب يقتضيه وهذا يعرف بالتأمل. Other than those 5 daily prayers, nothing is obligatory unless there's a reason that makes it obligatory, and that is something that is known by reflecting, meaning reflecting on the textual evidences. وصمت رمضان أي الشهر المعروف. I fasted the month of Ramadan, the known month, the one that all of you guys know about, and the one that is just around the corner. الصيام في اللغة الإمساك عن أي شيء. Now, the word siyam linguistically is the restraining or the refrainment from anything. Anything that you refrain from, anything that you stay away from, linguistically is known as siyam. حتى يقال عند العرب صام عن الكلام. He fasted from speech, meaning he refrained from speaking. صام عن لعب كرة القدم. He fasted from playing football. He stopped. He refrained from playing football. So the term fasting linguistically is the refrainment from anything and everything. Now, this is linguistically. لغة. في الشرع أي شرعا, legislatively now, technicality wise, هو الإمساك عن المفطرات من طلوع الفجر إلى غروب الشمس تعبدا لله عز وجل. We just did this with the kids class, subhanallah. And look at the consistency in the definitions. It is the refrainment from the fast nullifiers, the fasting nullifiers, from the observance of dawn to the setting of the sun, seeking or as an act of worship for Allah Azza wa Jal, seeking nearness to Allah, to draw near to Allah. وَقَوْلُنَا تَعَبُّدًا لِلَّهِ, the reason why we say as means of worshipping Allah, خرج به ما لو أمسك عن المفطرات حمية لنفسه أو تطببا, and we say seeking worship of Allah in order to exclude a person who may refrain from the fast, that which breaks the fast, as a diet for himself or as means of applying treatment, medical treatment. فإن ذلك ليس بصيام شرعي, that is not a legislative fasting. ولهذا لا بد من تقييد التعاريف الشرعية بالتعبد. That's why we have to restrict any legislative definitions with the fact that it has to be as an act of worship for Allah. وأحللت الحلال أي فعلت الحلال معتقدا حله, meaning I do the halal believing it's halal, believing it's lawful. هذا معنى قوله أحلل. This is the meaning of the statement أحللت. لأن أحل الشيء لها معنيين, because for someone to say I've made to make something lawful has 2 meanings. المعنى الأول الاعتقاد أنه حلال, for you to believe that it's halal. المعنى الثاني العمل به. The second meaning is that you actually act upon that which you believe. وحرمت الحرام أي اجتنبت الحرام معتقدا تحريمه. And حرمت الحرام, meaning I stay away from what is prohibited whilst believing that it's prohibited. ولكن النووي رحمه الله, however, Imam النووي رحمه الله, بعد أن ساق الحديث, after he quoted the hadith, لم يقيد الحرام بكونه معتقدا تحريمه. He did not restrict or qualify the statement of the haram by saying believing it's haram, while believing it's haram. لأن اجتناب الحرام خير وإن لم يعتقد أنه حرام, because avoiding prohibited things is good for you even if you didn't believe it's haram. لكن إذا اعتقد أنه حرام, but if you actually believe that that thing is haram, صار ترك الحرام عبادة. Now your abandonment of that which is prohibited becomes an act of worship. لأنه تركه لاعتقاد أنه حرام, because you've abandoned it while believing it's haram. Meaning, somebody could say, I don't eat pig, I don't eat swine because its meat is bad for you. A lot of people don't drink alcohol because alcohol is bad for health. A lot of people don't eat pork because they believe pork is bad for their health. You understand? So when a person abandons alcohol and pork, Is that good for them? Absolutely, it's good for them. In the ultimate sense, it's good for them because they're leaving alone that which is haram, but they don't believe it's haram. So let's say a non-Muslim never drank alcohol, never ate swine because of health reasons. It was actually good for him that he engaged in neither. Now, if he becomes a Muslim and now his abandonment of them becomes because he believes it's also prohibited to consume them, now it's going to be converted into an act of worship. You understand? مثال ذلك رجل اشترب شرب الخمر. An example of that, a man abandoned or stayed away from drinking alcohol. لكن لا على أنه حرام بل لأن نفسه لا تطيب له. Not because it's haram, because he just doesn't like it. فهذا لا إثم عليه. This person is not sinful. لكنه إذا تركه معتقدا تحريمه. But if he left alone alcohol, believing it's haram, وأنه تركه لله صار مثابا على ذلك. And he left it for the sake of Allah, now he's rewarded for that. وسيأتي مزيد بيان لهذا إن شاء الله في آخر الفوائد. We will get more examples of that إن شاء الله later in the benefits of the hadith. أدخل الجنة يعني أدخل الجنة. سبحان الله. I even read it in my mind. أدخل الجنة. Will I enter paradise? والجنة هي دار النعيم التي أعدها الله عز وجل للمتقين. Jannah is the abode of pleasure that Allah has prepared for the pious people. May Allah make us among them. فيها ما لا عين رأت. It in Jannah is what no eye has ever seen. ولا أذن سمعت. And no ear has ever heard. ولا خطر على قلب بشر. And that which has never crossed the heart of a human. Never crossed the heart and mind of a human. خطر على قلب بشر meaning something you've never even thought of, never fantasized about, never even imagined. Something that is beyond your imagination. Some people, some of y'all have a wild imagination. And you could have the wildest imagination. You could spend literally hours per day imagining, and whatever you do, you will never even be able to imagine what is in Jannah. So whatever you imagine is capped. Because what's in Jannah is وما خطر على قلب بشر. It has never crossed the mind and the heart of a human being. Allahu Akbar. والجنة فيها فاكهة ونخيل ورمان وفيها لحم وماء وفيها لبن وعسل. Even though Jannah has fruits and palm trees and pomegranates and meat and water, and it has milk and honey, and we know, and khamr, it has alcohol that does not intoxicate you, and it has one of the finest things in the world, Hur al-Ain. And that is glad tidings for the brothers who love women, that hang in there. Inshallah, if you don't get it in the dunya, then inshallah you'll get it in the akhirah with a bunch of Hur al-Ain. Al-ismu mutabiqun li asma'i ma fi dunya. Now all of these names are they match the names that we have in the dunya. When you think of milk and honey and meat and water, you know, and fruits, you have an idea. ولكن الحقيقة مخالفة لها غاية المخالفة. But the reality of those, it opposes the reality of today in every way, shape, or form. لقوله تعالى, because Allah said, فلا تعلم نفس ما أخفي له من قرة أعين. No soul knows what has been hidden and concealed for it from the pleasure of the eye. وقوله تعالى في الحديث القدسي, and the statement of Allah عز وجل in the hadith قدسي, أعددت لعبادي الصالحين. I've prepared for my righteous slaves ما لا عين رأت, what no eye has ever seen, ولا أذن سمعت, ولا خطر على قلب بشر, and no ear has ever heard and has never come across a human's heart. قال نعم ونعم حرف جواب لإثبات المسؤول عنه. Now نعم, the Prophet ﷺ said yes, and that is an answer to confirm that which was questioned. والمعنى نعم تدخل الجنة, and the answer is yes, you will enter Jannah. Now, what are the benefits of this hadith? من فوائد هذا الحديث. Number one, حرص الصحابة رضي الله عنهم على السؤال. The keenness of the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with them, on asking questions and learning the matters of their deen. الثاني, number 2, بيان غايات الصحابة رضي الله عنهم, showing the goals and the objectives of the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with them. وأن غاية شيء عندهم دخول الجنة. The main objective for one of them is to enter Jannah. You speak to a Sufi today, you tell him, Ya Shaykh bandu lambu lambu nangu, or why do you worship Allah? He will tell you, أنا أعبد الله محبة لله ليس طمعا في جنته ولا خوفا من ناره. Allah ya fasiq ya zindiq. He will tell you, I worship Allah out of love for Allah, not because I seek his paradise or I'm afraid of his hell or punishment. These Sufis, man, the Sufis are among the silliest creatures Allah created. They are in opposition to everything in the Quran and the Sunnah in the name of love. The closest people to the wicked, deviant Christians and Christendom is the Sufis. That's why a lot of Christians convert into Islam via the Sufi channel. Not a YouTube channel. I mean the Sufi channel of Dawah. That's why Hamza Yusuf came from Christianity straight into Sufism, because he really had to make very minor changes. Just a little bit of modification. Okay, Jesus is not the Son of God. He's a messenger of God. That's pretty much the only thing he changed. And he pretty much kept everything else in terms of the belief system. In terms of everything else, belief-wise, he's pretty much consistent with Christianity. That's what the Sufis and the Ash'aris and the Jahmis and the Mu'tazilis, all of these people, they have a deen other than our deen in this sense. We don't worship Allah because we fear his punishment. Ya akhi, Ibrahim himself begged Allah, وَاجْعَلْنِي مِنْ وَرَثَةِ جَنَّةِ النَّعِيمِ, and make me from the inheritors of the paradise of pleasure. Allahu Akbar. You're going to be better than the Prophet ﷺ, who used to ask Allah Jannah and seek refuge with Allah from the fire. Ya majnoon ant. Hey. So their objective was Jannah. لا كثرة الأموال, not abundance of wealth. ولا كثرة البنين, and not abundance of children. ولا الترفه في الدنيا, and not to have luxurious life. ولهذا لما قضى أحد الصحابة للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حاجة, this is why when one of the Sahaba fulfilled a particular need for the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, قال له النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اسأل ماذا تريد. When a man did a favor or completed a task for the Prophet ﷺ, Prophet ﷺ said, ask me whatever you want. What do you want? قال Allahu Akbar. The Sahabi said, أسأل مرافقتك في الجنة. He said, I ask to be your companion in Jannah. قال أو غير ذلك, do you want anything other than that? قال هو ذاك. He said, this is it. This is it. How beautiful is that? They want to be the companions of the Prophet ﷺ in the dunya and in the akhirah. He could have asked for anything for that matter, because da'wat al-Nabi mustajaba. The dua of the Prophet ﷺ is accepted by Allah. He could have made dua for him and he would have had whatever he wants. He said, I want to be a companion in Jannah. Anything else? Nope. Huwa that. That's it. It's that. Specifically, exclusively, strictly that. قال فأعني على نفسك بكثرة السجود أي بكثرة الصلاة. He said, then help yourself by performing abundance of prostration, meaning by abundance of prayer, meaning pray a lot, do a lot of salawat, obligatory and voluntary. Subhanallah al-Azim. That was the objective of the Sahaba. فهذا الرجل, and now, so just let me just bring the point closer to home. I'm going to give Salat al-Fajr as an example. Someone will say that sleeping X amount of hours a day is good for your body and is good for your health. And it will help you grow an inch taller. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. That's the goal. And waking up for Salatul Fajr and praying in Jama'ah is you wanting just to go to Jannah. Not trying to have an abundance of wealth, an abundance of children, an abundance of dunya, let alone an abundance of height or an abundance of sleep. Yeah. The point is that shows you where the priorities are. And that shows you why we're not really Salafis in the ultimate sense. Because had you been upon the way of the Salaf, then your priorities would be the same priorities as the people of the Salaf, as the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. So when someone chooses their comfort and their relaxation and their laziness over the right of Allah and the obligation that Allah had made compulsory on us, that shows you that this person is not truly all right, we're back. So this is a reminder for all of you, and that same applies to sisters with the hijab. I'm here. Everybody can hear me? Yeah, we froze. We froze for a second. Are we back now? We're back now. And that reminds me of a video that is going around now about our sisters in Palestine. May Allah Azza wa Jal alleviate their suffering. A video that my family showed me of some lady explaining why the women are now wearing their prayer clothes during all occasions in order to deal with the condition that they're in. And basically they show you some pictures of traditional Palestinian women who, in terms of their dress code, look exactly like my people, Lebanese, Syrian, Jordanian. People in Levant in general, their hijab is very much similar. And I say it with a very sad condition that our Levante hijab is not really a hijab. Our sisters, and similarly in the Gulf, just so you won't think I'm being biased, sisters that wear their abaya and niqab, but then under their niqab they have makeup, or you could see the side of their face from the niqab, or their abaya is open and you see what they're wearing under it, or they have a belt around their waist. All this is not hijab. Even if you're covering your face, it's not hijab. And our Lebanese and Jordanian and Syrian and Palestinian sisters, for the most part, their hijab is not the hijab Allah made obligatory. Our concept of hijab is a tarha, is a head cloth that they cover their hair with, and pretty much, illa man rahim Allah, well, there's some minor exceptions. That's what their concept of, and Egypt is also, we could include Egypt in this, by the way, and Malaysia, and I could go on. Most of the Muslim world, the sisters are actually not wearing hijab. The hijab that Allah made obligatory, that makes the men look away, or makes the men not interested, or completely covers their body and their body shape and the likes. So they're saying that these women generally dress like this, and now they're forced to wear their prayer clothes because of the bombing, because in case they get bombed, they want to be able to be covered properly. Ironically, that is the proper covering that they should be wearing all the time. The salah clothes that sisters use to pray in at home is actually the closest thing to the proper clothing you need to wear outside. Allahumma, without all the funky colors, because some of them will be pink and blue and whatever and have all these kind of designs. But in terms of how it covers your body, the prayer clothes, يعني ثياب الصلاة as we call them, are actually the proper Islamic dress code for the sister outside the house and not just in the salah. But we are so confused as an ummah that we now don't understand. And we're talking about, oh, now they're forced to wear these clothes in case they die. They want to be well covered. Yeah, Shaykh, you're supposed to be well covered when you're outside. And I'm not trying to criticize the Palestinian sisters. I'm only mentioning this because it's contextual to where this idea came from. It's actually a reminder to all of the Levante people to fear Allah in their clothing and to refer to Surah An-Nur and Surah Al-Ahzab and to refer to my lecture, is this sister going to Jannah? So that they can understand what is it that constitutes jilbab and hijab. What is it that constitutes the Islamic dress code that Allah Azza wa Jal is pleased with for the Muslim woman? And to give you the giveaway, it actually looks very similar to your prayer clothes, the one that you use at home to pray, which cover you completely. They cover your feet. Your feet should be covered. There should be no pants. Nobody should see the form of your legs. Nobody should see your waist and the size of your waist. Nobody should see your behind. Nobody should see your front. Nobody should see your neck. Nobody should see all of the things that now sisters display. Let's not even go to the subcontinent and the qamis and sharwal and that cultural dress, which is not really a hijab at all. She's literally wearing pants and a shirt over them, and you see everything with gold, with jewelry. And sister, you could see her feet, and you could see her anklet, and you could see her toenails, and the paint she has on her toenail, and the whole shebang. Ajib. Ajib. Look all over the world. Who's wearing the proper hijab? A minority of sisters. Allah bless them. May Allah bless them. Those sisters who continue to dress in a manner that is pleasing to Allah in spite of the challenges that they face in the world. But for the record, that's what you're supposed to be wearing. المهم فهذا الرجل لم يسأل نقودا ولا مواشي ولا قصورا ولا حرثا. This man did not ask for money or cattle or castles or agriculture. بل سأل الجنة. He only asked for Jannah. مما يدل على كمال غاياتهم رضي الله عنهم, which shows you the perfection of their goals and objectives. May Allah be pleased with them. Number 3, أن الإنسان إذا اقتصر على الصلاة المكتوبة فلا لوم عليه. That if a person were to restrict himself to the obligatory prayer only, then there's no blame on him. ولا يحرم من دخول الجنة, and he will not be prevented from entering Jannah. لقوله أرأيت إذا صليت المكتوبات, because the man said, you see, if I only pray the obligatory prayers, I'm only going to pray Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Nothing before, nothing after, no witr, no qiyam, no tahajjud, no tahiyyatul masjid, no salat istisqa, no salat al-khawf, no salat al-kusuf, al-khusuf, nothing. Nothing. I'm doing no salat al-duha, shuruq, kullu, ما أبي. 5 صلوات في اليوم النهار بس, 5 صلوات. No blame on that person. Is it a shortcoming? Yes. Could he be doing better? Surely. But can you say that this person will not enter Jannah? No, you cannot. Based on the hadith. فإن قال قائل, if a person were to object, say, قال الإمام أحمد رحمه الله في من ترك الوتر هو رجل سوء لا ينبغي أن تقبل له شهادة. Imam Ahmad said regarding the person who abandons witr salah, he's an evil man whose testimony shouldn't even be accepted. فالجواب, the answer, أن كونه رجل سوء لا يمنعهم دخول الجنة. The fact that he's an evil man, he's a bad man, doesn't mean he won't be able to enter Jannah. فهو رجل سوء ترك الوتر. Is a bad person who abandoned witr. وأقله ركعة, which is the least of witr is 1 ركعة, 1 unit. مما يدل على أنه مهمل, which shows that he is negligent. ولا يبالي إذا لم يطلب منه ركعات كثيرة. And he doesn't care إذ لم يطلب منه ركعات كثيرة, even though he's not being asked to do a lot of units. بل ركعة واحدة ومع ذلك يتركها. Just 1 unit, يا شيخ, even that you abandon it. Number 4, أن الصلوات وكذلك الصوم من أسباب دخول الجنة. Prayers and fasting is among the means for you to enter Jannah. وقد ثبت عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. It has been established authentically from the Prophet ﷺ, أن من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا, whoever fasts the month of Ramadan out of iman and seeking pleasure from Allah, seeking reward from Allah, غفر الله له ما تقدم من ذنبه, Allah will forgive whatever sins had preceded from him. Number 5, أن لا يمتنع الإنسان من الحلال, that a person should not avoid that which is lawful. لقوله وأحللت الحلال, because he said, and I made lawful what is lawful. فكون الإنسان يمتنع الحلال لغير سبب شرعي مذموم وليس بمحمود. For a person to avoid that which Allah made lawful without a legislative reason is something that is blameworthy and not praiseworthy. For you to say, I don't want to engage in this, even though Allah made it lawful. Why? What's your objective? What's the purpose? Number 6, أن الحرام, that haram, أن ما حرمه الله تعالى في كتابه, is whatever Allah had made prohibited. What constitutes prohibited is what Allah made prohibited in His book. أو على لسان رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, or upon the tongue of His Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, meaning something the Messenger of Allah said. أو وتحليل الحلال وتحريم الحرام هو عام في جميع المحللات وجميع المحرمات, ولهذا قال أدخل الجنة قال نعم. And making lawful what is lawful and making haram what is haram is applicable to all that which is lawful and all that which is haram. Because he said, will I enter Jannah? And Prophet ﷺ said, نعم, yes. وفي هذا الحديث إشكال. Now we have an issue in this hadith. وهو أن الرجل قال لم أزد على ذلك شيئا. The man said, I'm not going to do anything additional, nothing beyond that. فقال له النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم تدخل الجنة. The Prophet ﷺ said, you will enter Jannah. ومع أنه نقص من أركان الإسلام الزكاة والحج, even though he actually left out from the 5 pillars of Islam zakah and hajj. والزكاة مفروضة قبل الصيام, and zakah was made obligatory even before fasting. يعني فلا يقال لعل هذا الحديث قبل أن تفرض زكاة. So no one can say, maybe this hadith was before zakah was made obligatory. أما الحج, as for hajj, فيمكن أن نقول هذا الحديث قبل فرض الحج. We could say this hadith took place, this conversation between this man and the Prophet ﷺ happened before hajj was made obligatory. Maybe, but for zakah, no, because zakah was obligatory before fasting. And he clearly said, صمت رمضان, I fast Ramadan. لأنه لكن لا يمكن أن نقول إنه قبل فرض زكاة. فما الجواب عن هذا? Like I said, we cannot say this before the obligatory of the before zakah was made obligatory. So what is the answer to that? الجواب أن يقال, the answer is that we say لعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم علم من حال الرجل أنه ليس ذا مال. Perhaps the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم knew from the condition of this man that he doesn't have any wealth. وعلم أنه إذا كان ذا مال فسوف يؤدي زكاة. And he also knows that even if he were to have money, he would have paid zakah. لأنه قال وحرمت الحرام, because he said I would make haram what Allah made haram. ومنع الزكاة من الحرام, ومنع الزكاة من الحرام, and avoiding paying zakah is prohibited. أما الحج فما أسهل أن نقول, as for hajj, it's easy for us to say أن لعل هذا الحديث قبل فرض الحج. This hadith perhaps is before hajj was made obligatory. لأن الحج إنما فرض في السنة 9 والعاشرة. Hajj was made obligatory in the 9th or 10th year. وأما قوله تعالى, as for the statement of Allah, وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله, in Surah Al-Baqarah, فهذا فرض إتمامه لا ابتدائه. This is the obligation of completing it, not initiating it. وقد يقال وذلك داخل في قوله حرمت الحرام. Or we could even say no, all of this, meaning zakah and hajj, are included in his statement وحرمت الحرام وحرمت الحرام. لأن ترك الحج حرام وترك الزكاة حرام, because by default abandoning hajj is haram, abandoning zakah is haram, and he already said I will do what is halal and consider it to be halal, and I will make unlawful what is haram and I will leave it alone. So that already addresses those two elements. Number 7, أن الجواب بنعم إعادة للسؤال. The answer yes includes the repetition of the question. لأن قوله أدخل الجنة I will enter جنة قال نعم يعني تدخل جنة, meaning yes, you enter جنة. ولهذا لو سأل الرجل فقيل له أطلقت امرأتك قال نعم فإنها تطلق لأن قوله نعم أي طلقتها. And he said yes, then she becomes divorced, because yes means yes, I divorced her. ولو أوجب الولي عقد النكاح وقال الرجل زوجتك ابنتي. And if the guardian made obligatory in the marriage contract, and he said to the man, زوجتك ابنتي, I've given you my daughter in marriage. فقلنا له أقبلت, and we say to him, have you accepted? قال نعم فإنه يكفي في القبول. It is sufficient as an acceptance. لأن نعم كإعادة السؤال. Basically the Shaykh saying, if you say, do you want breakfast? And I say yes, that means I'm technically saying, yes, I want breakfast. And I don't have to repeat the words, I want breakfast. By me saying yes, I've already technically said, yes, I want breakfast. So the term yes, replying with yes in the affirmative, already includes the verbatim in the question. It's as though it's being confirmed and repeated and verified and validated. Capish? Capish. ولو سئل أوقفت بيتك قال نعم فيكون البيت وقفا. Have you made your house an endowment? And he said yes, then it has become such. أبعت سيارتك على فلان. Did you sell your car to this person? قال نعم. He said yes. فيكون قد أقر البيع. He has therefore acknowledged the transaction of selling. وهكذا في كل ما وارد. نعم اعتبرها إعادة للسؤال. Similarly, anytime you come across yes, assume it and understand it to be a repetition of the question. قال النووي رحمه الله, Imam Nawawi رحمه الله said, ومعنى حرمت الحرام اجتنبته, meaning I stayed away from haram. ومعنى أحللت الحلال فعلته معتقدا حله. فعلته meaning you engaged in it while believing its lawfulness. وهناك معنى آخر غير الذي ذكره النووي رحمه الله. There's another meaning that Imam Nawawi رحمه الله didn't mention, وهو, and it is أن تعتقد أن الحرام حرام ولا بد, that you believe, you have this creedal belief that haram is haram inevitably. لأنك إذا لم تعتقد أن الحرام حرام فأنك لم تؤمن بالحكم الشرعي. Because if you don't truly believe that what is forbidden is actually forbidden, then you haven't really believed in the legislative ruling. وإذا لم تعتقد أن الحلال حلال, if you don't believe that the halal is halal, فأنك لم تؤمن بالحكم الشرعي, then you have therefore not truly believed in the legislative ruling. فلا بد أن تعتقد الحلال حلالا والحرام حراما, that it is inevitable and incumbent on you to believe that what is lawful is indeed lawful and what is forbidden is indeed forbidden. وتفسير النووي رحمه الله فيه شيء من القصور والله أعلم. So the tafsir of Nawawi was somewhat deficient, and Allah knows best. And that, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, concludes the 22nd hadith of Al-Arba'een An-Nawawiyyah. When we will resume العلم عند الله لأنني مسافر إلى الأراضي الماليزية إن شاء الله الأسبوع القادم والذي يليه, ثم بعد ذلك ندخل في شهر رمضان, فلا أدري ماذا سيكون جدولنا. هيا بنا عباد الله. وعليكم السلام. Do you pray Tahiyyat al-Masjid when the khutbah has begun? Yes, you pray Tahiyyat al-Masjid even if the khutbah has begun, but you make it a brief salah, you conclude and you pay attention to the imam. You don't sit down in the masjid on Jumu'ah without listening to the imam. Who is your favorite author of Islamic books in our era? Whose books would you recommend for a beginner in Arabic? I recommend the books of Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah because of their simplicity and their easy nature. Favorite author of Islamic books in our era, Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, no doubt. His book Kitab al-Janaiz أو أحكام الجنائز, his book آداب الزفاف, his book صفة صلاة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من أولها إلى آخرها كأنك تراها. The Shaykh has a lot of beneficial books. كتاب التراويح, excellent books. جلباب المرأة المسلمة, نعم. الشيخ الألباني, no doubt, رحمه الله. Is there any warning against Al-Huda Institute Pakistan by Farhat Hashmi? Je ne sais pas, monsieur. Je ne sais pas. I don't know. Sorry? Are we told in Islam if this world is flat or round? Yes, we are. We're told in Islam that the earth is round. We're told in Islam that the earth is round. يكور الليل على النهار. Allah Azza wa Jal makes the night and the day alternate in the form of takwir, from kura, from a sphere, a circle, a ball. indicating that the earth is round. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before every Friday prayer, I like to buy brand new thobe because of the significance of Friday. Is it something bid'ah or makruh? Barakallah feek. Wallahi ya akhi, it's a sunnah to beautify yourself for Friday and to wear nice clothes. But to make it a trend to buy a new thobe every Friday, there are 52 Fridays per year. So that means you, by the end of the year, you'll have 52 thobes. So in 3 years, you'll have 150 thobes. Yani, if you were the king of Zungabungi Takatuku, you would not have that many clothes. And all this, and you called al-faqir ilallah. Ya wallahi, أي فقر يا شيخ. عدمتنا يا كابتن. ألو, hey, حول. أهدى يا بابا. يا أخي, beautify yourself and shower and put on perfume and wear nice clothes. Usually for Eid, people may buy new clothes. But for you to be tripping every Friday, that's crazy. Weights. What advice would you give to help the brothers who are being told that they're being extreme if they don't freely mix with their female cousins? I would tell you to hang in there and to watch my lecture, Off They Go. Off they go. It's about strangers. In the hadith of the strangers. بدأ الإسلام غريبا وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ. We also had one in the UK, burning coals. Did we publish that? The lecture about burning coals? Yeah. Now, next. My Muslim neighbor has invited me for his birthday party today. Ha! My mom can get angry when I tell her I can't go. Whoo! So is there any way I can come over but not be sinful in the gathering, such as messaging my friend that I will come over but inform about the issue of birthdays? If you're going to go there and forbid the evil, then go. Otherwise, you cannot go. Or you can go and sit outside on the balcony and be zero involved in the birthday. Now, Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's been a while, my brother. How is your basketball skills? Any better? Nah, ya akhi, I'm all right, bro. We had a game yesterday. I did all right. Alhamdulillah, we have a tournament, which I'm going to miss now because I'm going to Malaysia. Inshallah ta'ala. But I'm okay. I'm on my worst day, I'm better than you. Let's just put it that way. What is the ruling on prayer beads? I am of the opinion that they're bid'ah if you're using them to do dhikr. If you're using them as a fidget spinner, then knock yourself out. Does the same ruling occur on the finger clickers when counting dhikr? Yes, the same ruling applies. Hey, barakallah feek. I'll have fun in Malaysia, inshallah. Is it sunnah to read Surah Kahf on Friday? Yes, it is, inshallah. Do you have to read the full surah or just part of it? It's recommended that you read the entire surah. And mind you, you have all the way from Maghrib of Thursday till Maghrib of Friday. That's 24 hours? That's 24 hours to recite one surah that is like what? 6-7 pages? Come on, Abdul Razak. If a Muslim says or does kufr akbar even after the proofs are clearly and firmly established on him, is it fard to do takfir muayyan on him? And if I don't do takfir, do I become a kafir due to due to an-nawaqid? What is the third? Ard al-nawaqid? No, you don't have to. It doesn't become fard on you to do takfir al-muayyan because of your possible lack of qualification. Because you might think that you've established these proofs and you might not be fully aware of them. This is for the people of knowledge and the scholars to engage in that, not for the average person. Now, can you explain about what happens to the soul in the grave if you die with death? Yeah, you will remain in the state of not receiving the relief that you're anticipating until your debt is paid off. Based on the hadith that a man had died and he had debt, and Prophet ﷺ refused to pray the janazah, then one of the Sahaba said that I will volunteer and pay off his debt. And the Prophet ﷺ prayed, and then he kept following up and asking, has this debt been paid? Has the debt been paid? When finally it was paid, he said, now baradat jildatuhu aw kama qala, now his skin has cooled off. So even the shaheed is bound by his debt. That's why I remind always and forever, my brothers and sisters, do not engage in debts that you and loans that you cannot fulfill. If it's a temporary loan that you know you could fulfill immediately with no interest involved and no riba and usury, no problem. Other than that, don't buy fancy cars and keep paying installments for I don't know how long when you can afford to buy a used car. And the list goes on. Now, whenever I'm put in an environment where I have to be in front of women, I feel so uncomfortable to the point where I feel physical tightness in my chest. Is this normal or am I overreacting? No, you're definitely overreacting. You are definitely overreacting. I wonder what the trigger is. So does that mean any woman, mahram and non-mahram? So how are you going to get married and have a relationship with your wife? You will die as soon as you grab her hand because your chest is going to be really tight then. طبعا that's overreacting, ya Shaykh. Wa alaikum salam. Would you recommend doing hijrah to Malaysia? I don't know. I don't know enough. No, it could be better than some Western countries, but it's not the ideal country for hijrah. Wallahu a'lam. Not yet, at least. Is it wajib upon us to send salah upon the Nabi ﷺ every time we mention his name, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in speech? Yes, it is. I'm of the opinion that it is. Now, how is it unrealistic? How is it unrealistic to send salah upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam every time you hear his name? I don't understand. I don't understand. What's so unrealistic about it? It's one of the best things in the world. Yesterday we were at the Dr. Umar's dars. He must have mentioned the Prophet ﷺ around in the span of 2 hours around 200 times. And 200 times the student said sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And every time you said it, Allah sent 10 salawat upon you, and your sins were forgiven, and good deeds were given to you. What's so unrealistic about it? Every time he said it, we said it. What's the big deal? Yalla li ba'du. Sibawayh? What about Sibawayh? What does the ayah mean? And placed on his throne a body? وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ سُلَيْمَانَ وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيِّهِ جَسَدًا. That's not the translation that is used usually. And there's a number of tafasir for this particular ayah, which obviously we should refer to and not speak from off the top of my head. So I need to go back and visit the tafasir. But I don't think this is the accurate translation, even though some translations may use these words. Some of them say it's regarding him saying that I'm going to have X amount of children from my wives, and he didn't say inshallah, and he was tested by having a child that was deformed or something along these lines. That was the fitna of Sulaiman. That's one of the interpretations, at least. Wallahu a'lam. Next. Does the prayer of the one who only prays fard have to be perfect with khushu for this hadith to apply? How to stop praying sunnah? It's very hard as a mom with small kids, nursing and etc. Well, obviously, whether or not this applies to the hadith, you should strive to have khushu' in your salah. As for praying the sunnah, then you do as much as you can. Obviously, it is definitely challenging, but you do minimal. Whenever available, you pray. Maybe the child is sleeping, maybe they're playing, and it gives you 3-4 minutes to pray sunnah, pray. If you're busy, don't pray. Very simple. Kaif.qa. Is it bid'ah to read Surah Yasin 3 times after every Fajr Salah? You better believe it's a bid'ah. It's a reprehensible bid'ah that will only get you far away from Allah. It will only distance you from Allah. Is it okay to cut in order to shave the beard, or is it prohibited? It's prohibited. They refer to the lecture, let it grow with a natural flow. If a man is financially broke and a woman believes that it is allowed to marry him as Allah will provide them barakah financially, is it okay to marry in such condition? If that's what she wants, let her knock herself out. If she's willing to make that compromise, go ahead. Why not? وش المكاتب اللي يوجد فيها كتب دراسة إسلامية وفيها توصيل لأنحاء المملكة؟ والله ما أدري يا أخي. بس يعني في مناطق على حسب، في جدة، في الرياض، حتلاقي دائما في شارع كله مكاتب. في جدة كان وين؟ في السليمانية. What was the name of the area? كان في دار ابن الجوزي ودار السلام، وكان في عدة مكاتب، وفي الرياض برضو فيه، وفي المدينة فيه، وفي مكة فيه. يعني this is something you can find on Google حبيبي, depending on the city you're in. نعم. If I do wudu, washing my face and fart, wow, that's a black hole for sure. If I do wudu, washing my face and fart and break wudu, should we start again from hands or continue? Continue. You remind me of a brother back in Masjid Al-Mu'min who only learned about the ruling years after he'd be farting the whole wudu. The whole wudu, he says, and then when he will finish washing his feet, khalas. After he finishes the feet, he doesn't fart anymore, and he thought it was all good. ما ينفع يا بابا. As soon as you fart, you're nullified wudu, and you have to start the wudu from scratch. ايش هذا؟ Yeah, you have to repeat it again. It doesn't count. Y'all be nasty, man. I can almost smell it. Yalla. What is Deobandi Barelvi? Do they do shirk? It depends. Deobandi are people that come from an area, and Dar al-Ulum and Deoband. It's an area, and it's a school of thought that follows the Hanafi madhab in fiqh and the Ash'ari madhab in Aqeedah. And they definitely have shirk in the names and attributes of Allah. Barelvis are far worse and engage in actual shirk in worship. Besides their disbelief, besides their confused belief in the names and attributes of Allah, they have major issues in terms of ibadah and tawheed. And all of these people are deviant and misguided, and you need to stay away from, inshallah. I just bought a new laptop, for example, and someone admires it. My question is there a dua from the sunnah to remove the evil eye after one day has passed, or do I tell him to pray for the blessing? You teach that person. First of all, you yourself say, Allahumma barik li fi hadha al-laptop, barik li fi hadha al-hasub. You make dua to Allah to bless it for you. And then you teach the people that when they see something that they admire, tell them, ask Allah to bless it. Adi. They need to be taught. I heard you can leave salah only if there's fire. Is it true? I don't know where you heard that, brother. There could be other reasons why you need to, why you could leave salah. Let's say you're praying on an airplane and the airplane starts, diving into death, and you're praying in an area where there's an exit or something and people need to get out. You're just going to continue praying. There's no fire there. Come on, man. Is putting on perfume to smell good for other people minus shirk? It's haq. It's haq. And you put on perfume, brother. No, it's not shirk. That is a very strange question. This is not an act of worship where you put perfume for the sake of Allah. You put perfume because you as a Muslim, you're required to smell good and not smell bad. And yes, that involves people. That involves people. That's fine. Alaikum salam. Should a sister report her ex-husband if he's pimping new reaver sisters? He's on his 5th wife. No. Report him to who? Report him to who? Now, if the brother is, I don't know, this is a very, this is the type of question that cannot be answered, because this is the perception of the questioner. It is the perception of the questioner that he is pimping new revert sisters. What is 5th wife? Meaning he's going to marry more than 4. He's going to have more than 4 wives. He's violating the Sharia by having 5 wives. Or you mean he's married sisters and divorced before, and this is the 5th occasion where he's married a 2nd wife and divorced her. All of these need to be figured out and sorted out before we could say anything. And then we have to ask, who are you going to report him to? The disbelievers, so they could take him in and imprison him when he's doing what Allah made law for him. Allah made law for him to marry a 2nd wife and a 3rd wife and a 4th wife. So the question, a question of this gravity in one sentence where we don't know what's going on, is the type of question that you cannot answer publicly. We need to hear the brother's side of the story and the sister's side of the story, and then we could see who's misunderstanding aspects of the deen. And once that is figured out, then yeah, it could be that the brother is tripping and he needs to be put in his place. And it could be that the sister doesn't know Islam and she's just being jealous like most women are, and she needs to be put in her place. So now there's a lot more to it than that. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm homeschooling my son from India. There's difficult situations here. Is there any online Islamic school to get him enrolled? Sky School Online. Please Google Sky School Online. Amau Junior. I want to ask if a nun mahroom, what is a mahroom? Mahroom meaning one who's deprived. You mean mahram. If a non-mahram see the hair, if a non-mahram see the hair of the woman, will the woman have to perform the wudu? La ya Shaykh. La ya Shaykh. Why? Why would the woman have to repeat her wudu if some man randomly, accidentally saw her hair? Dude, no, she does not. She should still not let a strange man see her hair, but it definitely doesn't nullify the wudu. You will never see in the book of fiqh, among the nullifiers of the wudu, a man looking looking at your hair. Is it permissible for a woman to say, Shaykh, I love you for the sake of Allah? No. No, it is not permissible for a woman to say, Shaykh, I love you for the sake of Allah, because the only part that the Shaykh is going to pay attention to is, I love you. He will definitely forget that he's a Shaykh, and he will definitely, the shaitan will make a serious effort to skip the sake of Allah part, because naturally that's how a man's brain works. So no, it is not appropriate for a sister to say, Shaykh, I love you for the sake of Allah. The term I love you shouldn't be used, period. You don't tell a Shaykh that you love him, period, no matter what your reasons may be. If you truly love him for the sake of Allah, just make dua for him. That's love for the sake of Allah. Now you go and tell him, you don't go tell him, Shaykh, I love you for the sake of Allah. What the heck is that? We're assuming this is a brother is trying to be funny. All right, that's it. We're done. We're done. If I don't have a legal ID, can I do work on food delivery app on someone else's name? No, generally, no, you should not be able to do that. The general ruling is that you should not be able to do that. Now, all right. Is it permissible for a woman to have a YouTube channel as a woman? No. No. What? How? How is that even possible, y'all? How is a sister going to have a YouTube channel, and she's a woman where it's videos of her that all these strangers are going to look at. Y'all didn't hear about the big fitna of this crazy sister who put up a picture of herself, a hijabi, put up a picture of herself on Twitter or on X while she's pregnant, and she said, I don't know, 9 weeks or 50 weeks and counting, but who's counting, or something like that. And you would look at the picture, you think it's an innocent picture. She has her phone covering her face, and it's showing her body, and it's showing her belly. And it created a disaster online. People advised their sister, you're not allowed to show your bump. It's part of your aura. And she went off. I hate the being, if I was a non-Muslim, life would be easier. She went she lost it altogether. Within 2 days, her pictures were all over Reddit and all over porn sites. For the people that have fetish for pregnant women, pregnant hijabis in particular, pregnant hijabis. And she's been millions of views. Millions of men have looked at her, and the youth husband is sitting at home making tea, the jahash, while his wife posts pictures of herself. And she was advised by thousands of Muslims, yeah, sister, fear Allah, remove the picture. She's like, nah, what do you guys are freaks? You have to sexualize everything. So the problem was all about, she was blaming all the men. The reality is, yes, those men, they loved the picture, they saved it, they put it up on porn websites. And this is a sister who has a phone like this and took a picture of her bump showing that she's pregnant. That's the world you're living in. You want to have a YouTube channel and go there and show them your cuteness and your loveliness and your soft voice and your well lotioned hands and your perfect nails and fingers, or you're going to look like a zombie. Obviously, she's going to take care of herself. And khalas, once you do that, it's game over, baby. All right. Yeah, that's enough. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.